Have you ever enjoyed a good cat and mouse chase? Watching mysteries unfold, witnessing a fugitive on the run. This is one of the most remarkable anime series I've ever seen, and it's all down to its incredible elements. Before the massive rise in mystery seinen, there was something which became a bit in itself a cult classic, and this story is called a monster. In the 60s, a TV show was released called The Fugitive. Within the story, a doctor is convicted of murder, and he is on the run from the police, trying to unveil the true killer. Young Naoki Urasawa was a budding manga artist. He saw The Fugitive when he was just 8 years old, and since watching such an exhilarating story, he realised that he himself could craft his own narrative of this, with his own cultural influences. Now a grown man, Urasawa was recommended by his editor not to make a manga on the medical industry because it simply wouldn't sell in the current growing marketplace. Urasawa was initially deterred, putting his mind to more innocent cutesy projects, but his passions got in the way. As said by his peers during his days at university, Urasawa's art style was reminiscent of Katsuhiro Otomo, the acclaimed author of Akira, with each facial expression illustrated with distinct purpose. Urasawa vowed in his work that not one expression would ever remain the same. His desire was to encapsulate the complexity of human beings within his illustrations and writing, and that he accomplished with ease. If you like this video, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and just punch it. Just punch it so hard. I do appreciate it. Enjoy. The Monster manga was released in 1994 to massive critical acclaim. So much so that it won multiple awards for its incredible writing, and so naturally in 2004, we'd see the anime come. The amount of depth in this first episode really envelops us into the world and philosophies of our protagonist, Kenzo Tenma. Since the Meiji Restoration of 1868, the modernization of Japanese medical practices was rapidly fostered on the basis of German medicine. In fact, the Japanese government officially adopted German medical philosophies and practices into their own education sectors. Urasawa's reason for basing the story in Germany is partially a homage to German influences on Japanese pharmacology, and also to incorporate neo-Nazi movements, since the story is based post-World War II. There's a lot of creepy stuff. Monster throws us into the study of ethical dilemmas. The hospital itself is completely run on politics. We discover a battle of conflicting regimes, putting us into an unbalanced world. This separates those who possess power and influence from those who do not, and this is the basis of who remains alive. So Dr. Tenma is stuck between two minds, to remain faithful to his morals and the Hippocratic Oath, or to follow the blatant corruption and selfishness of those around him. He is genuinely one of my favourite protagonists I've ever seen. The whole story should really be called a series of unfortunate events, but you know, that name's kind of taken. The hardship Tenma has to endure throughout the running of the story gets pretty heavy, and we constantly see this throughout the progression of his physical appearance alongside his demeanour towards other people. The true stakes isn't just about him getting caught by the police, but rather how his moral fibre will change over this period of events. You as a viewer get entirely connected to Tenma and the very, very small amount of people he actually can trust, because these people are the shining lights of the series. They are the morally good characters, and everyone around them seems to be entirely unjust and corrupt. You don't want him to make mistakes. You don't want him to sink to the level of his opponent. But when you see what he goes through, it becomes incredibly tense. Will he remain as a passionate, selfless doctor, or will he join the dark side? I mean, there's no Sith Lords in this series, but actually, you know what, there kind of is. If you enjoy a show with exceptional writing, this is the first show I would probably recommend anyone. Seinen always seems to have an extra level of truth behind it, an extra reason to exist, because it pulls from traditional storytelling, it pulls from, unfortunately, corrupt real-life situations, and this is something we're starting to see a lot more in animation. The questioning of one's identity, the ideas of corruption and obsession. Each character in this show is used as a tool to outline how an investigation like this can go each and every way under the sun, because everyone has their own goals, their own morals, so where is it going to take them? Now let's talk about aesthetics. This show has aged a little bit. It's not the prettiest. However, the expressions are very true to the original manga, and the sound design constantly makes for a really intense experience as everything begins to unravel. The show is also a 4:3 aspect ratio. that's just how things were distributed back then. I think the aspect ratio actually works in favour of the show anyways, because when you have that pillar boxing, it draws your attention to the characters involved. It keeps the audience's vision very tight and focused, and a lot of directors will use this intentionally with their own work. I mean, look at The Lighthouse, that's again very character driven. And a lot of the time, it's used to represent isolation, which is something Tenma definitely has. I don't think it needs to be changed. The anime is also quite long, 74 episodes to be exact, and this was just purely done to keep up with the manga. Some people might find this runtime a little boring, but you also have to keep in mind, back then shows were a lot slower paced than they are now, and to be fully representative of the manga, this is probably the best way to view it. There isn't a single moment of filler in the show either, and I got so invested in the story and the characters that every episode just kind of blew by. So, what is this monster? Well, it's someone who encapsulates nihilism in a way a lot of antagonists have completely failed to do. Regardless of everything else, you should watch this show purely just to see how a villain should be written. The whole journey of this villain is interesting in itself, how you can dissect them from their childhood into their adulthood. And the more you watch, the more you realise just how much their philosophy has spread and what they've been through, which is entirely understandable. I mean, it doesn't make them any better of a person, but my god, there's a reason. This might be one of the best representations of a psychopath I've actually seen in storytelling. And the fact that they're always welcome in death constantly brings the question into mind, is this person going to get what they actually want? And because they are seemingly one step ahead all the time, so brilliantly intellectual, you do wonder, this person might win. Much like a series like Death Note, you get two characters who parallel extremely well with each other. Yes, they're completely opposite, but in some ways, they're a lot alike. Every decision, every slight expression in this, every moment of action matters. And that's what makes Monster so impactful, because the tiniest decisions alter the entire course of events. And that's exactly why I think you should watch it. It is absolutely worth witnessing for yourself, and I'm not going to say much more. It's an incredible story, and I want you to experience it yourself, whether that be for the manga or the anime. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video, and take care.